Mike Florio. The white man that complains about everything. Now he's complaining about the lack of old head coaches in the NFL. Wow, just wow. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Mike Florio claiming that NFL owners are refusing to hire veteran head coaches due to those coaches being old-aged. Some of these coaches that he complained about not having head coaching jobs were Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll, and now seems like Mike Florio decided to find something else to complain about since there have been more black coaches getting hired as head coaches in the NFL. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Was Mike Florio right or wrong for claiming that NFL owners have an ageism problem? Obviously, Mike Florio was dead wrong. He could not have been more wrong on this tape. Are you kidding me, Mike Florio? Are you bored? Do you need to get a life? Because how do you come up with these proposals and these ideas? No, the NFL does not have an age discrimination issue. These head coaches have gotten old, and you look at most professions, right? A lot of these guys, they retire at the age of 65, and I know that football coaches are not a regular industry, but it's still the real world. You look at how Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll, the game has clearly passed those guys by. You look at how Bill Belichick also wants full control with personnel. Obviously, no NFL team would be willing to give Bill Belichick that kind of power, at least in their right mind. And you look at how Bill Belichick is not necessarily a long-term solution for a franchise. Anytime these head coaches are getting interviewed and they want to get hired, they obviously have to be there for the long haul. This is a long-term kind of plan. And when you hire a guy like Bill Belichick, you're not going to get that kind of result. If you hire Bill Belichick, that means you're going all in for the next 3 years if you hire Bill Belichick. And besides, you look at how Bill Belichick is already 70 plus years old. If you want to stay in the game, Bill Belichick, you got to stay as a front office advisor in some sort of way. You're not going to come back as a head coach, or at least he shouldn't. If he does come back as a head coach, well, then I'm going to have words to choose out with NFL owners if that was to happen, because you look at how Bill Belichick, even though he's an all-time great head coach, it's clear the game has passed Bill Belichick by. It's not a lack of defensive coaches in the NFL that's getting hired, because there have been defensive head coaches getting hired. In fact, out of the 8 coaching hires made this offseason, 5 of those guys were defensive minded, because you look at how Gerard Mayo, he got hired by the Patriots. Then there was Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. Then there was Raheem Morris with the Falcons, Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, and then there was Dan Quinn with the Commanders. So obviously hiring defensive minded coaches is not an issue there. And you look at how the NFL is evolving towards younger coaches anyways, because they want coaches that can relate to younger players in the game of football. And guys like Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll don't really provide that, because they're too much filled with old head material in their mind. And you look at how Bill Belichick doesn't really bring in a great team-like environment. Whenever Bill Belichick gets hired, everything has to be about Bill Belichick. And obviously, in today's NFL, we don't want to live in a coach-centric model. We want to live in an era where you let the GM make the football decisions, or the head coach just becomes an offensive innovator, or he becomes a guy where players can relate to really well. And obviously, these guys are just too outdated for the modern NFL. Now, if Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll had shown that they could evolve with the rest of the NFL, then this wouldn't be an issue, but they clearly have shown that they can't keep up with the rest of the NFL. You look at how Bill Belichick has a losing record without Tom Brady. You look at how the New England Patriots have missed the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years. Those 4 years that the Patriots have been coached under Bill Belichick, they didn't have Tom Brady. Whatever Bill Belichick did without Tom Brady was not good enough. There's a reason why the New England Patriots got rid of him. And then you look at how these other teams, they're not even really interested in hiring Bill Belichick. But I don't have a problem with that whatsoever, because Bill Belichick is an old head. Bill Belichick is not a guy that can keep up with the current generation of players. And besides, do you guys really think Bill Belichick would be a good coach for most teams where he would get hired to? Now, granted, I do think Bill Belichick would be a good fit for some NFL franchises, but obviously those spots are not going to be open, because if they were open, then that means they're usually not a very good organization. I know the Los Angeles Chargers organization opened up a coaching spot this past offseason, but that's because they were going all in on Jim Harbaugh. By the way, that was the absolutely correct decision for the Chargers to make. They needed a guy that would change the culture in that organization, and they needed a real leader that could turn around their franchise sooner rather than later. So congrats to the Chargers in that regard. And then, of course, let me talk about Pete Carroll. I want to talk about him. You look at how he got fired by the Seattle Seahawks. I know that he's technically still an advisor, but he still wants to be a head coach as far as I'm concerned. But if you're Pete Carroll, you might as well forget that dream. You've already been a head coach on not one, not two, but three different NFL franchises. I think NFL teams know what they're going to see coming out of Pete Carroll. And I understand Pete Carroll had an extremely successful run with the Seattle Seahawks, but your time is up. You're too old to be a head coach in the NFL. And I understand that you keep yourself in great health and everything like that, but it takes more than just that. You also have to evolve with the game of football. And it was clear that Pete Carroll did not evolve with the rest of the NFL when it came to offensive philosophy. Pete Carroll believed too much in running the football and needing a game manager at the quarterback position, when in today's NFL, you need to find an elite quarterback sooner rather than later. And you need to be a pass-first centric kind of offense. We're living in an era where you have to throw the football in order to win the games that you have on your schedule, and Pete Carroll did not do a good job utilizing that material. You also look at how defensive schemes have evolved as well, and it was clear that Pete Carroll's defensive strategy was outdated as well. You look at how the Seattle Seahawks underachieved this past season. Yeah, I know they went 9-8 this year, but you look at that roster and you're wondering, how did they not win at least 11 games with the roster that they had? They had Geno Smith, they had Kenneth Walker III, they had Tyler Lockett, they had DK Metcalf, they had Jackson Smith and Jigba, they had Devon Witherspoon on defense, and they had all those weapons, and they were still a mediocre football team. How do you go 9-8 with that stacked roster that you had? And you're supposed to be a defensive-minded guy. You're supposed to elevate the defense, but he did not elevate the defense at all. So you look at what Pete Carroll was doing, and it was pretty obvious that he could not keep up with the modern NFL, and yet there are people crying out there that they deserve to get head coaching jobs. Are you kidding me? Hire the best candidate that is the best fit for the franchise at that time. That's what the model should be. And obviously, Mike Florio is a complainer. He's made a career out of being a complainer. It's exactly what he does. Do you guys remember when he tried to claim that NFL teams were being racist to Colin Kaepernick because he went unsigned, even though Colin Kaepernick won 3-16 in his last 19 starts? And not only was he going 3-16 in his 19 starts, he also was a troublemaker off the field because he created too much controversy with the national anthem. Remember when he knelt for the anthem? Yeah, he looked foolish doing that because he lost his job to Blaine Gabbert in the preseason, and he thought that being a social justice warrior would save his NFL reputation. But actually what it did was it damaged his reputation as an NFL quarterback, and that's why the owners didn't want to sign Colin Kaepernick, because they didn't want a distraction on their team. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with being a distraction in the locker room, and obviously Colin Kaepernick had way too much baggage in him, but this is nothing new from Mike Florio. He complained about how Colin Kaepernick was being mistreated fairly and that we needed to have more black quarterbacks in the National Football League. If you've also been following Mike Florio in recent years as well, he's also been complaining about lack of black head coaches and how the NFL needs to do more to get minority head coaches involved in the NFL. Now that minority head coaches have been getting hired by the NFL, Mike Florio found a new problem. Now he's complaining that older head coaches are not getting opportunities to get jobs in the NFL. But let's be honest, we only have 32 of those jobs in the NFL. Getting a head coaching job in the NFL is relatively hard compared to other professions because there's only so few slots that open up every year. And honestly, those guys are not deserving to be candidates in today's NFL. I'm not saying these guys weren't great coaches, but I'm saying that in today's NFL, you don't necessarily want to go after the best candidate. You want to go after candidates where they fit the organization best and where they can get along with their GM and players, because that's going to create a lot of problems within the organization. And it's also proven to not be an effective method for winning in the modern NFL. Mike Florio is finding something else to complain about. I guess that's what happens when you worship guys like Joe Biden, because we all know that Mike Florio is woke. We all know that he is a proud Democrat. I don't have a problem with Democrats, but I got to point out what's actually happening with Mike Florio. We all know that he loves Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is an old president, so he believes, oh, we have an old president, that means we should have old head coaches too. That's what it is really coming down to. Look, is Mike Florio trying to proclaim that NFL teams need to put in a rule where you have to hire a coach over 70 years old on your coaching staff? Because it kind of feels like that's what Mike Florio is asking. I'm not even going to argue with that. Obviously, Mike Florio is a loner. There's a reason why he comes up with these ideas, is because he's bored in the offseason and he comes off as a guy that has no friends whatsoever. I don't think he ever had a real friend in his life when he was a kid. That's why he comes up with these stupid proposals, and that's why he lives like a loner. Mike Florio is an idiot that knows nothing about the game of football. Quite frankly, most of his articles that he writes are pure speculation. He's not a real NFL insider. He is a freaking joke. He is a glorified blog writer. So that is why Mike Florio was absolutely wrong for claiming that NFL owners have an ageism problem, as it is clear that NFL owners should be hiring younger head coaches instead of hiring an outdated head coach on their respective teams. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story. every Monday. That will be for the at Dustin as Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Dustin as Tran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter at Dustin as Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.